Spider-Man is one of the most popular fictional characters to ever exist, let alone superheroes, and it is very critical for a superhero to have a great rogues gallery as they are the opposition, a reflection upon the hero. But who exactly is the strongest? I love Spider-Man. He is my favorite Marvel superhero, and I have made Spider-Man related videos before, so I thought to myself, why not? Power scaling Spider-Man has gotten a little overplayed with the release of No Way Home and Spider-Man 2. He's always being brought up for versus debates, and I want to stop talking about him for a little bit. But what if we talk about the villains he faces off against? It's a simple topic with just a lot of information to go over. There are only 3 rules for this fictional fight. Rule number 1, it is a battle royale, so no one-on-ones. They all are put into a fictional arena on any battlefield where it is possible for them all to meet and they fight it out, leaving only one winner standing. Rule number 2, it is live action movies only. I don't feel like diving into over 50 years of comics, and to keep it fair, we're going to keep it live action because, well, then the answer would be easy. Rule number 3, and the final rule is we will not be using anything from the new Madam Web movie, as I have been working on this video prior to the movie coming out, and I don't have any interest in seeing that movie, not gonna lie, it looks doo-doo. And the wonderful thing about keeping it live action is that there is actually a crossover movie where the villains and heroes interact with one another, establishing relative scaling across all 3 universes. So we can actually speak of how everyone's powers will interact with one another instead of just scaling everyone. So let's start it off with speaking about Andrew's first villain from TASM 1. The Lizard appeared in the Amazing Spider-Man 1, where he kinda dominated a young, freshly powered Spider-Man all movie. It was never close, and the Lizard was a powerhouse, a freak of nature you could honestly call it. And as a human-lizard hybrid, he possesses powers or abilities of a lizard. Not complicated really, he can extend his claws by very small distances to increase his range of attack or climb surfaces. But his most important ability is his healing factor. It's actually insane, and besides his strength, it's his greatest asset. He can heal wounds. He's even to heal full-on limbs. In TASM 1, his arm was frozen with liquid nitrogen and shot off by a shotgun. And bro grows it in seconds as it's constantly being shot down. He was only able to be beaten by creating a cure for his lizard form. This is also how he was defeated in his second showing in No Way Home. So how does this dinosaur fare against the other villains? Well, we might as well get this guy out of the way. Rhino. It's just a guy in a metal suit. A metal rhino suit, in fact. That's it. He has turrets and missiles, which is cool, I guess, but bro is off-screen by Andrew at the end of TASM 2. So we really don't have much at all to go off of. And as we just spoke of, the Lizard's healing factor will be able to deal with his arsenal, as we haven't really seen much destructive capability of Rhino. Also, Lizard can rip through metal, so Lizard really just sprints at him and rips Alexi out his suit, and Mortal Kombat fatalities him. On to the next one. We also might as well get this guy out the way, one of the main villains from TASM 2, the Amazing Spider-Man series, Green Goblin, who barely showed up in the movie, didn't do anything at all, and I mean, he killed Gwen Stacy, but congrats. Harry has the Goblin Glider, which lets him fly but also gives him access to Goblin Bombs. The Goblin suit was stated to have an injury repair, which keeps Harry alive from the Osborn disease, but we don't really know how well that injury repair is. We don't know if it's going to heal wounds. It really didn't show much. I mean, it didn't keep him awake, so he was in the movie for like 5 minutes, and he didn't do much at all. He slammed and pinned Andrew to the floor, but Andrew was off-guarded and very distracted. Andrew was too focused on saving Gwen and keeping the clock tower from turning and snapping the web holding Gwen. Harry seconds later was knocked out by Whiplash when he hit a wall. So, yeah, he's kind of sorry. I mean, the Lizard overpowered a stronger Andrew in No Way Home, and again, his healing factor is making sure Harry does little to no damage. So, I mean, after Lizard dogs Alexi, he kind of jumps in the air, does a crazy flip, and smacks bro with his tail and finishes him. No diff. Let's talk about someone that actually is worthy of discussion. Electro. The other main villain from TASM 2 is no joke. He is living, breathing, walking electricity. That's his whole thing. Now, I know I said we aren't really going to scale these characters because they're mostly relative, but Electro is a different case. I mean, he outscales everyone here. Electro travels at the speed of electricity, which gives him massively hypersonic plus levels of speed. In TASM 2, we also absorbed the New York's power grid, and this was a weaker version of Electro. In No Way Home, when he has access to Tony's arc reactor, Andrew states Electro is more powerful than ever, giving him town levels of AP. Electro is only able to be beaten by being overcharged in TASM 2 and being off-guarded by Doc Ock, and given a cure to his power in No Way Home. Electro just outscales Lizard massively. It isn't really close, and Electro kind of just counters him as well. Electro is able to just fly around, zoom, spamming his blast. Lizard has no way to really keep up or even attack him in the air. Electro has a weakness to water, so if Electro fought Lizard in his territory, the sewers, Lizard has a chance. But that's situational, and I can't just give that to him. Electro kind of just fries the dinosaur, like, badly. Since we're talking about the TASM universe and we're kind of done with them, let's move on to the Sony villains. There are 3 symbiotes to speak of: Venom, Riot, and Carnage, and they all generally possess the same base abilities while others possess greater ones. Symbiotes have tendrils that they can extend and use like another limb, and with these tendrils they can extend or come from anywhere on their body. Symbiotes also possess an insane healing factor, healing any damaged and broken limbs of its host. Symbiotes can also see beyond their host's sight lines. This gives them a sort of danger sense, being able to see what the host cannot. It is like a full 360-degree vision with greater range. Venom only possesses the base symbiote abilities, as among his people he is considered a loser. Riot, on the other hand, has a greater arsenal of weapons. With his tendrils, he's able to form weapons to use at his disposal. Carnage can't do that, but he has more vast powers. Carnage is able to spin around and form miniature tornadoes, destroying the environment around him. And he can form weapons, just not any weapon. He can form blades. That's his thing, and he shoots them out as well as projectiles. And I mean, that's it for the symbiotes. We're gonna come back to them, but let's move on to the other Sony villains. We got Shriek, who is an easy character, even easier than Rhino. She screams loud. That's it, on to the next one. We'll be back. Okay, vampires now. The 2 vampires show up in the Morbius film, Morbius and Milo. That's not the movie, those are the names of the characters. The vampires possess enhanced speeds where bullets appear slowly to them, so they are faster than their peers in the Sony films. They, as vampires, do have sharp teeth and claws, which they use to chew and cut their prey. The vampires also have echolocation, which gives them a greater view of their environment around them. These are the base abilities of vampires, but Morbius has a greater control of his power. Morbius has a power of flight, where he can fly faster than a subway train. He can also control bats, which is what he used to defeat Milo in their fight. Now, since we went over all of them, this is where it gets a little troubling. Both the symbiotes and vampires have a weakness to loud sounds. Any sound louder than 6,000 Hz is lethal to a symbiote, while loud noise affects the vampire's hearing and echolocation. It really messes with them. Shriek's power is her loud banshee screams. Even disregarding their vulnerability to loud sounds, her screams can easily tear anyone's eardrums. A younger and weaker Shriek made an officer partially deaf in his ear just by screaming. Like, she's really no joke. Shriek is just one person though, while there are a total of 5 who have a weakness to Shriek's power. You can argue Shriek will make use of this and take down all 5, but I think that's a reach and I don't agree. 5 is way too many people, and you can't guarantee they'll all be in the range of the attack. The symbiotes and vampires have shown to be able to move even when distraught with loud noises, so even if Shriek screams, she's still gonna get handled because that's all she can do. She can't move around and defend herself really. Now this just leaves the vampires and the symbiotes. The vampires do possess greater speed, but they're outnumbered and actually don't have the ability to damage them at all. Symbiotes casually tank bullet fire and they do no damage. What exactly is Morbius and Milo Claw and Teeth gonna do? They can't penetrate the symbiote enough to reach the host, and even if they do, any damage is healed. They just have no chance, and they get jumped, leaving us just the 3 symbiotes, and thankfully, they've all fought each other, so we don't need to discuss this for very long. Venom admitted to being on the weaker side of the symbiote race. Venom said he had a 0% chance of beating Riot, admitting inferiority, but he still found the courage to fight him, only surviving and killing Riot due to Venom causing a rocket explosion. An arguably stronger Venom when first encountering Carnage, hid in Eddie's body and wanted to run even though Annie is held hostage, needing to be motivated by eating brains in order for Venom to fight Carnage. In the end, Venom lost to Carnage in their fight and was only able to defeat Carnage when Shriek separated him from Cletus's body. So Carnage would be my pick to win out of all the Sony villains. Now symbiotes can receive a buff in their power by consuming brains. It is an unquantifiable boost, and there is no guarantee Carnage would be able to consume all 4 in this encounter, but in this hypothetical fight, there is an opportunity for Carnage to walk out of this fight even stronger. So if Carnage is your pick, at this point in the discussion, if you want to give him that boost, he would be stronger than before. So with the Sony villains talking about, let's move on to the MCU Spider-Man villains. Now surprisingly, there's a lot of easy villains to discuss in the MCU films, and Shocker is one of them. appearing in Spider-Man Homecoming. Technically, there's two of them, but we're really just going to talk about one, and it doesn't matter who it is. It's just a guy with a gauntlet that makes you punch hard. It's a single gauntlet that generates a lot of force. Nothing special. On to the next one. The main villain in Spider-Man Homecoming, Vulture. He has mechanical wings that give him the ability to fly, and he is able to fly fast enough to catch up to a cargo plane. Now on these wings of his, they have blades equipped to them, which allow him to cut metal and even cement pillars. Vulture also has claws on his feet, which allow him to grab things such as cars. Not a very unique inventory, but good enough to do the job. Now Vulture beats Shocker. This should be obvious. Narratively, Vulture is Shocker's boss, so he'd be strong just off story implications alone. But if that isn't good enough for you, I can explain more. Shocker was only able to off-guard Tom. That's really it. He pushed Tom around with the gauntlet, but the moment Tom got his web shooters back, he got handled in seconds. No diff. Vulture is actually able to contend and cause Tom problems. And let's be serious, what is Shocker even gonna do? He's just gonna swing his arm around hoping to land a hit like a child, while Vulture, who was able to fly in the air faster than a cargo plane that moves at around 500 miles per hour, literally blitzes bro and stabs him with his wings. Let's move on to the No Way Home film, Mysterio, who is the main villain of that movie, and in my opinion has the coolest fight scenes. He is the most interesting villain here to discuss in a 1v1. Unfortunately, we can't do that right now. Mysterio is not a single person, but a team, at least in the MCU adaptation. And their greatest ability, illusions, actually requires time to prepare. He can't just spam it. So we can't just spawn Mysterio in this fight and expect him to do something. They do have the Edith glasses, so the face of the Team Quentin Beck can summon drones to help him fight. But those come from his satellite in outer space. He's gonna get handled before they arrive. So Vulture, after dogging Shocker, flies and grabs Mysterio and goes all the way up in the air and drops him like a horror movie. Now if we gave Mysterio prep time, this would be a different discussion. I promise you it would. But that is very situational, and I think it's unfair to do that because then we have to give everyone else prep time. So Vulture easily handles the MCU villains. They're just normal people. Now all there is left to discuss is the OG Spider-Man movie villains from the Raimi films. The first villain in the Tobey film, Green Goblin, is no joke. Appearing in Spider-Man 1, Green Goblin is the main villain. Norman Osborn takes a super soldier serum, what most people call the Goblin serum, making him stronger than ever. Goblin also has military equipment that was supposed to be for the US Army, but he took for himself. Goblin has the Goblin glider, which gives him the ability to fly around. But this glider has multiple weapons such as missiles, turrets, blades, and goblin bombs, even having a bomb that can turn others into a skeleton. This has never been shown again, and it's unlikely this is a consistent weapon in his inventory, and I'm not going to really give it to him. Same with his sleeping gas. He used that one time, and he never used again, even against Tom, so I can't really give him either of those. He does have other goblin bombs, such as ones that break off into flying blades. His glider isn't the only well-equipped item he has. His suit is also equipped with multiple weapons. Of course, including his inconsistent sleeping gas, he also has his one-time shown out of nowhere 3-bladed sword. Really have no idea where that came from. Like, it came out of nowhere. But in his suit, he also has blades stored. Green Goblin is sort of a walking weapon barracks. Of course, coupled with his superhuman strength, Goblin is no joke. Now, Dr. Octavius, a super genius who is the main villain in Spider-Man 2. Possesses 4 mechanical arms attached to basically his back. It's around like a little strap. It's to his back. That's all we gotta say. He's able to communicate with these arms mentally via a chip implanted near his brain. Now his gear isn't super complicated, but these metal arms have some insane strength to them, and they are able to act as their own person while Otto is unconscious. They can still move around freely, but they are attached to Otto's body, so they have to move within their reach. He might not sound impressive at first, but paired with his genius intellect, he caused Tobey many problems. Tobey is only able to win by short-circuiting his arms, making Otto essentially immobile. He never just beat Otto with the arms, he had to take the arms out. Otto has also appeared in No Way Home, where he was able to contend with Tom in his Iron Spider suit, but ended up losing due to Tom's superior technology. Otto vs. Norman, Doc Ock vs. Green Goblin is a very interesting topic, and honestly, this alone could be its own video. But it's pointless to discuss, because they are both outscaled by future villains, so we're not going to discuss that here. Harry Osborn, Norman's son, one of the villains in Spider-Man 3, took the Goblin serum in order to avenge his father and kill Spider-Man. And this isn't the same serum Norman took This is an upgraded version, where Harry doesn't have the weird alter ego or the second personality that Norman has shown. And not just the serum was upgraded, but the gear as well, with an updated glider. If Harry ever falls off, it comes right back to him. Harry has multiple blades attached to his wrists and even has a sword in his inventory. Harry is just an upgraded version of Green Goblin, so Norman and Otto get outscaled, like, badly. Harry is also inferior to the other two villains, so they kind of have no chance. Harry fought Peter in the beginning of Spider-Man 3, where Peter was holding back due to not wanting to hurt Harry and distracted on keeping hold of his wedding ring, and was still able to defeat Harry, while Spider-Man actually struggled with the other two villains. That just leaves us with the next two villains to discuss, Raimi's version of Venom. After the symbiote finds and attaches himself to Peter, they live together as one until Peter frees himself of the symbiote, where it falls onto Eddie Brock, where they become Venom. Now, this Venom doesn't have any unique abilities like the Sony Venom. He's just Spider-Man. He's a Spider-Man copy per se, super strength webs, but this Venom was actually stronger than base Spider-Man in Spider-Man 3, as he's able to overpower Tobey in the final fight, so he outscales Harry easily, even killing him with his own glider. Now, the last villain to speak of in the video actually is the other main villain of Spider-Man 3, Flint Marko, also known as Sandman, a criminal who escaped prison, fell in the middle of a science experiment, rewriting his body into sand, literally becoming Sandman. Sandman and Venom got into an altercation in Spider-Man 3, so we have something to go off of, where Sandman overpowered and knocked Venom back. Of course, you can say Venom wasn't trying to hurt Sandman, as he was just trying to recruit him, but if we are being honest, Venom doesn't even have the ability to hurt Sandman. Any attacks Venom makes would just go through him, almost like he's a crocodile from One Piece, a sand Logia. And even if Venom does damage to Flint's body, it just repairs itself and takes the form of Flint's body again. And to address Harry beating Sandman, let me explain this. Okay, Sandman not only overpowered Tobey in base, which Harry couldn't do, but he also kept up with Black Suit Tobey, who was bloodlusted. Sandman was able to fight multiple stronger forms of Tobey than Harry was, who lost to a distracted and holding back Spider-Man. Harry also would have been beaten by Sandman if Tobey didn't save him, and Harry only took down Giant Sandman by using his weaknesses like fire to turn him into glass. And even then, after Sandman was taken down, he got back up and ready like none of it happened, because he's able to reform his body. He only chose not to continue the fight because all he wants to do is help his daughter. I'm picking Sandman to come out on top out of all the Raimi villains, and I feel like this shouldn't be argued. So we have discussed all of the villains, and the final four remaining are Electro, Vulture, Carnage, and Sandman. And since we are at this stage in the discussion, we might as well get rid of the weak link, Vulture. Vulture is going to be an aerial threat, but he isn't a serious contender to win the fight. He doesn't possess the ability to hurt Carnage or Sandman. Electro is also an aerial threat as well, who massively outscales Vulture in AP and speed. Electro also has the ability to absorb electricity, which is what Vulture's suit uses. He's kind of just screwed, to be honest. He's a normal human who's fighting people with superpowers. Like, these are monsters, even an alien among them. Like, he has no chance, leaving just Electro, Carnage, and Sandman. You might have been able to see this. I don't know if you could have, but this is who's left. Now, the great thing about a battle royale or a Royal Rumble of sorts is that anyone can really win. You can make an argument for anyone to make it into the final three, but this is just who I believe would be left in the end. And this is how I think this fight would play out from here. Carnage as a symbiote not only has loud sounds as a lethal weakness, but also fire. Electro, who is living electricity, could cause an electric fire by blasting the Carnage symbiote, which would kill him. I'm sorry for any Carnage fans that believe the deadly symbiote is the strongest villain, but in the movie adaptations, I don't think he can beat Electro. Even if we take away the fire weakness and say it's a stretch that Electro would cause a fire, Electro massively outscales him badly. Carnage's small building level in AP at most. Shriek was able to shake a church, but not destroy it. Just shake with her screams, and she couldn't even break out of her containment, while Carnage was able to break her out himself, giving him small building level. Electro has town levels of AP due to being stronger than his TASM 2 self with the arc reactor, who at the time absorbed the power grid to New York. And I feel this shouldn't be surprising, but Electro is faster. Even if you want to say Carnage could take out Sandman, he can't. Again, Flint's body would just ignore the damage, and Sandman is far stronger anyway. I already scaled Tobey and Sandman. They're farther into building level than Carnage. Flint could just become a giant the size of a building anyway, and Carnage is screwed like that. Carnage was going to get screwed either way, regardless of who he fought. I just think the Electro is just easier to discuss because of his weakness. Leaving the final two to be Electro and Sandman. And we have already seen this altercation in No Way Home, where Flint was tanking blasts from Electro while shielding Tom Holland, where Flint then contained Electro while Tom cut off his energy source. Now yes, this was a weaker Electro as he didn't have the arc reactor, and Flint did struggle to contain him, but this Sandman was only trying to do just that, contain. He didn't want to hurt Electro, only stop him, which he did do. He just struggled to hold him for a period of time. At that moment, if he chose to, he could have suffocated Max with his sandstorm. But if you want to argue that since Electro outscales him and Sandman has no chance, let me explain this. Sandman reacted to Electro's blast, so being faster means nothing. That's how he shielded Tom from them. Sandman is easily just going to react to everything. Maybe not everything, but most attacks. And number two, sand isn't conductive. Electro cannot hurt him since electricity cannot flow through him, leaving the conclusion of this argument. There's three answers to who you believe is the strongest out of all the villains. Option A. If you're looking for who is the outright most powerful, who scales the highest on some Dragon Ball timing, the answer is Electro. Town level, massively hypersonic plus. There's your answer. Option B. If every villain fought, who would come out the winner? Which is what this video is about and what I want. I mean, this is my pick anyway. I'm picking Sandman. I believe he's the most reasonable winner. Sandman can be the most deadly villain if he chooses to, but his mentality is why he isn't that way. He isn't an evil villain, just some guy trying to save his daughter. If he chose to, he could go around creating large sandstorms around New York and drowning whoever he chooses. And let's be serious, who is going to stop him? Not Toby, not Tom, not Andrew, not the villains. He's a real threat. And the final option, C. If we gave every character prep time, who would win? The answer would be Mysterio. The MCU villain with prep time would take down every character here. This could be a whole video itself of me explaining why, so I'm not going to do that. For now, all I'm going to say is this. No one here can see through his illusions. The only reason why Mysterio lost to Tom is because Tom mastered his Peter Tingle. Besides Tom Holland, everyone else is a Mysterio victim.
Yeah, this guy sucks. He is a Sandman victim. Anyway, love y'all, God bless.